What's up, guys? I'm going to be doing something slightly different, um, and hopefully my computer does not crash again. I've been having some increasingly more common computer issues, but this is a little beside the point here. Um, yeah, so I guess this video is going to be explaining how to like cope or adapt to the changes of Hog, right? So for reference, this is somewhat similar to how he was initially, right? Um, with the two different types of fire. Um, I might, and then he was reworked into, I guess, the previous iteration of Pigpen, and now he's like kind of the same as the original, but you have the healing resource instead of like the cooldown, right? Um, yeah, so basically the gist of it is if you were already playing as you were, I guess, or playing properly with Hog to begin with, like you're probably not going to change your playstyle much, right? Um, Yeah, so and when I say that, I mean if you're already kind of playing like a poke tank, right? Just like forcing angles and trying to like hook people from like across a map to get most of your value, right? You're probably not going to notice that much of a change, right? Um, but if you're insistent, like kind of running it down, you're going to get hard punished a lot this patch, right? For a few reasons, right? One, you lost probably your best perk, right? The removal of like pent up is like kind of bad because both your miners now are kind of either underwhelming or very situational, right? I think in general, Hog has some of like the weaker perks in the game at the moment. Um, Two, just the straight up removal of Pigpen kind of like does actually impact your like frontline presence a good deal, right? Because like the slowdown helps stop people walking forward, and like obviously the threat of comboing tanks with it, especially like the speedy tanks, is like a big problem for them. Um, And it's also something if people want to just rush you down, so it's something people have to destroy before they did it, right? Excuse me. And kind of thirdly, kind of the removal of the reworked primary fire, right, with the four central projectiles into like the OG version, really hurts your like matchup against like not giant, largely immobile tanks, right? Like, its range is pretty bad against anything that's like not a mirroring hog past like 4-ish meters, right? Something simple like Mulga or like Ryan, right? It's characters of those size. So like a lot of tanks or DPS can really easily get within the sweet spot distance, right? Especially because I feel like right now it feels like the game's just becoming more and more mobile, right? So it's becoming more of a pressing issue that his primary fire kind of sucks, especially without hook, right? And yeah, it's no exception in this patch, right? So like you're just gonna be relying on secondary fire like as much as you possibly can, even more so than like you would have needed to like 2 years ago or whenever Overwatch 2 released, or even prior to that, right? I don't really have any experience with that, but I'd imagine it's basically the same, right? Um, Yeah, so basically what you're looking to do now is probably play a little further back than you used to. Poke people out with right click and still look to hook people from across the map more or less, right? To like pick off the back line. And if nothing else is available, you can just hook the tank or shoot the tank, right? To force out cooldowns, force out good trades, and make something happen off of that. I do prefer this version of Hog. Overall, like a good deal more than the previous version, right? And I might say reworked. I know this is kind of another rework, but if I ever say rework, I'm probably referencing the previous version, with Pigpen and the reworked primary fire, and from season 8 to 17 or whatever exactly it was. Yeah, so just in case I accidentally misplaced those words, just be aware of that. Um, yeah, I do prefer this version just because you have way better uptime. At least better uptime potential when you don't have hook, right? Because like optimally with the previous version of Hog, a lot of times like you just throw a hook and if you miss, you just literally don't peek, right? Because you do like 0 damage. Um, Outside of like it depends on the exact character, right? Outside of like we'll say like 5 to 10 meters, which is like not the case anymore, right? Now you just like can blow people up like 10 to like 13-ish meters without the perk, right? And yeah, it's really beneficial because at least now you have the choice on whether you want to peak or not, right? And I say you probably want to play a little further back than you were playing like previously because like your primary, like all those reasons that I listed at the beginning, right, where you just have worse perks, right? Your primary fire is worse, and like just everything's faster. So like you're just more liable to getting run over now, especially because your primary fire is kind of useless without hook right now. Which is definitely, in my opinion, the worst part about this version of Hog. Um, yeah, so just shooting the enemy tank the right click is super valuable because a lot of tanks struggle to like consistently do something to it, like that 10 plus meter range. Whereas you obviously don't have that problem, right? Like 10 to 15 meters against tanks, you can usually just actually blow them up really easily if you're hitting good right clicks, right? And it's also scary for DPS because, like, yeah, it might be inconsistent. You can threaten a one shot on a lot of them, right? I don't know if a lot's the right word, but you can also like pretty consistently do like 100 damage shots to them. Whereas previously, like you're gonna max out at like probably realistically like 60 damage, which is just not even worth peaking because you're just gonna take so much damage in return, right? Yeah, because like the mechanics of the shot, I won't go too into depth, right? But if like you jiggle peek with the old shot, you're losing like roughly half your projectiles because you're going straight into a wall because like the spread. But now if you jiggle peek, you're not losing any projectiles, right? And before we go into play-by-play here, kind of explaining my thought process, going forward, right? I'd like to, I guess before I even go into that, I think I'm going to try to focus on like my decision making and how I'm like adapting back to kind of like the previous version of Hog or the original iteration of Hog, right? And just like kind of highlighting like the exact decision making I'm doing, and like my exact positioning and why it's different on this iteration than like the previous version, right? Um, Anyways, going forward, I think Hog is still too weak right now. I think he's like a lot better than he was the moment the patch dropped. But I'd like to see like some slight minor perk changes, right? I guess I'll go into that, right? I think both minors are on the pretty weak. I think Hog has pretty weak perks across the board relative to the rest of the cast. Scrap Hook is almost totally useless. Like I'm not gonna lie. Um, like you shouldn't be hooking with 0 ammo in your clip or whatever in your gun. Um, and like it's only gonna help against like mobile tanks that are already low on cooldowns because like you do 0 damage to armor or low on resources, I say, because you do 0 damage to armor anyways. So like the extra 2 shots are almost never gonna make a difference in any other circumstance except that one, right? Or occasionally like 1% of the time everyone messes up, that's been playing the character for a while, but like that's not reliable, right? You shouldn't really be picking a perk as it's good 1% of the time, which is kind of also the problem with the second one. It's obviously better than 1% of the time, right? um but it can be actively detrimental at the same time if your opponents make character swaps, or if like the map changes, like on those flat or control point maps, or like the exact map geometry changes, because it just becomes like way too difficult to get the range correct to actually like sweet spot people with it, like in some circumstances. Granted, I haven't really played around with it a lot, and it has definitely good potential, but it's just like even more feast or famine than you really want, right? I still think Invigorate is probably the better choice. I think the new one, I think Pulled Pork it's called, can be useful situationally, but I really think it's just a overall weaker version of Pent Up, which is kind of like depressing for like a major perk to be probably weaker than a minor, right? And it's like I think the speed boost is just better in general, and it's more useful this patch because I think there's just more speed overall this patch, right? Obviously it's liable to change, but yeah, which kind of also makes like his invigorate like relatively worse too, because you're just using it so you don't immediately get run over instead of using it to actually like get distance on people, right? It's a little disappointing. Anyway, so what I'd change going forward, probably only minor buffs to Hog. I'd like to see um, Scrap Hook get a buff, so it like potentially also like has some armor cut through, like armor, like ignoring armor reduction to some extent. They can play with the exact number, right? Because armor just kind of like dumpsters you like really hard now because you're missing like those central projectiles. And I think like a slight buff to it that way will help, or potentially, right? they could also just give you your previous primary fire back, right? Where it, had those central projectiles, just kind of like didn't get hit by armor so hard. And it also gives you like that range smoothness, right? Which I feel Hog's really lacking right now. I mean, obviously it's by design, but I feel it's really impactful right now just because this game has just sped up considerably since like its launch, right? But balance changes and new character releases, like it's just way faster. And just having like a primary fire that's useless, like in so many tank matchups and like against like pretty much every single DPS and like support is pretty bad, right? So ideally, I like to see them like obviously with a few number adjustments, so he can't just one shot like everyone. Um, give him his previous primary fire back in some capacity, right? Or put that into like the scrap hook perk in some way or another, right? Or just remove scrap hook entirely and just make that its own perk, right? Because I feel like that'll give him a lot of range smoothing that he needs right now, or especially against like thinner tanks like Queen, which I think Queen's like really strong right now, or like against Reaper, like characters like that can like easily get inside your sweet spot range, especially if they have speed. Like the ability to actually contest them, is like super valuable. Is because you're just like the only tank right now, right? And obviously, if they find it too oppressive, they can change the numbers a bit and fine tune it however they see necessary. But that would be my like ideal thing, and see where he falls afterwards. So it's important not to get too carried away with going for right clicks. You see, like they're fun, but you see when these people are all up here, right? Hopefully this doesn't crash my computer. I'm not doing any damage to them anyways, right? So I might as well take cover until I'm like within this range where I can actually do something, right? With or without hook, right? And it's still good to practice good cover disciplines, so just so you don't explode, right? I'm still fundamentally doing the same thing, right? Like I'm looking for the back line and trying to ignore the tank as much as I possibly can, right? See, when I don't have hook and like no one's realistically in range, I'm just gonna shoot this guy, try to force out cooldowns. I'm missing it too much now. See, my Reaper's top, and I know like I killed their support, so like I can't do anything else right now because my Reaper's zoning their backline. So I might as well just hook this guy in and like, see, I know I have an Ana, so I'm just gonna try to get value by blowing them up. You see, because I do that, right? Really easy hook on the other support. Even though we're down our Tracer, right? You can still keep pushing the card because of that. I'm missing a lot, right? This is one of my first games. Kind of start off slow. The one thing I appreciate about the especially older maps in this game is like if you see a gap, you can usually shoot through it. You can really surprise people a lot of the times with the right click because it's projectile is like pretty much zero size and you can get it through a ton of like holes in map geometry, right? Again, nothing else to do except shoot this guy. So I think I'm lagging a bit here, right? It's just really all. Unfortunately, we're down too many players, right? I'm just gonna run away here, right? I really should have hooked the Tracer. I figured maybe with the Mercy boost and my Ana being, or like forcing out his shout earlier, I maybe could have killed him. But no. So a small distinction, the OG Hog, I believe his thing exploded to 8 meters and now it explodes at 10. There wouldn't have made a difference, but just like muscle memory wise, it's something to keep in consideration. Yep, walking forward here, right? Forcing this guy away. See, like I do 50-ish damage with right click here, which is enough to make it really easy to one shot. Like based on this exact map geometry, I don't think I can hook him up to high ground with me to get like the guaranteed one shot. So like it's very valuable to always go for right clicks on like on the back line, or even in general when you go for these hooks, just so it's like as guaranteed as possible one shot. Right? I probably should have went with the other one. This map because it's pretty wide open. And like they're on a pretty like decent range comp. Here I know I like killed the Wuyang, and like my backline's not too vulnerable to Malga, right? Like Mercy can fly away from him, and has 2 cooldowns he has to worry about. Tracer's just gonna blink away, and Reaper is gonna like trade neutrally with him, roughly speaking. So like if he's not mirroring me, he's kind of like not doing anything. So I'm just gonna like do my best to ignore him and try to like walk in the back. So I can't do anything here, right? I'm not just randomly running in the open. Still playing like principled. This is something I really like about right click, right? You see I'm like feigning. I'm not really trying to shoot this guy super much because I know the Widow and Wu Yang are up here, right? So I'm like baiting them into thinking I'm shooting the guy, right? If you look at their POV, like they see that I'm shooting the tank, right? I'm not gonna swap in fear of my game crashing. But like, yeah, they're baiting into thinking it's safe to peek right now because I'm not looking at them. And then I just, do something like that and then free kill. Unfortunately, right, my Tracer got a nice pulse, kill 2. Mug is on me, right, which gives my DPS room to do something. You see, I know they're committed still, and then down, like, since I'm forcing the tank on me, right, my DPS are free from the tank, right? That sounds really dumb, but, like, it gives me an opportunity just to rotate away and look to, like, kill someone back. See, kind of same thing again right here, right? Like, they're baiting them into thinking, like, I'm shooting the tank, but I'm really, like, looking for this, right? See, this is one thing I like about right click, right? I mean, this game, they've honestly been pretty bad, pretty like below average for me. But you still see here, like, even just doing this once is just infinitely more valuable than like your previous primary fire because I don't have to give up the objective to do that damage, right? And it does literally more damage than the previous primary fire unless I'm like point blank or like within like 3 or 4 meters, which I do miss it, right? It's a lot easier just to barrel stuff people with that version of primary. But like I can play further away and then just like do that, and then my like Reaper just 2 shots for free, right? Like you see, like it's just so much more impactful at the peak, right? Here I'm considering walking forward, but like I'm just gonna sick card. I think I've been having internet and computer issues a ton, so like I didn't want to just lag out and die. I mean, it's kind of that simple, right? Kind of like not the most ideal thing to do necessarily, but like pushing card's never a bad option. I see my tracers in. I'm trying to like catch someone that overextends. Unfortunately, I didn't want that guy. Good cooldowns by my mana. See, important thing here, like there's no reason to like rush the whatever their shot. If he's asleep, just like feel free to line with the shot. See, those shots, I say that the shots were still bad. You see, like I was really like stuttery. I don't know, like stuttery like it or something like that. Right? I was considering going for the predict, but I didn't know where she came from. Obviously, I'm considering also going in for like a flank to get a pick here. But I just want to keep the card moving because her tank's dead, right? Yeah, Mog is just a pain to push card against this hog. Oops. Like it looked at me like he was just gonna keep walking forward. See, that was a pretty good right click, but it just gets his damage halved because he has armor, right? I'm pretty sure that was like almost max damage. He might be gotten shot by someone else, but like yeah, that was pretty good. See, right? He doesn't want to sit, the thing is, he doesn't want to sit at that range because Maga doesn't have too much armor. So he's like gonna drop. One, he does, yeah, because I'm just gonna do more damage to him at that range if I just go peek cover and blow him up, right? So like that gives me the opening to go for their cast, right? I see my Reapers engage. I really don't want to engage on this guy because I know he's a shout. So, unfortunate. Then we're down 2. I'm looking for someone to trade on the back line, but since like my Ana died at the same time, right? I'm just gonna get out, right? Like, even if I hook someone there, I'm probably gonna get killed by the Morga afterwards. So better off just setting up to do this. Unfortunate, right? Just pre-aiming that thing there. Maybe they're like their tracers there or something like that. That's what I was hoping for. Just waiting for my team, right? Like I got the intro pick, but sometimes it happens. Probably walking up a little early here. It's just my team isn't here to like do anything quite yet. I know they saw me last main, so I'm gonna rotate in here to like try to catch them off guard. Unfortunately, like they catch on. I see my Reapers engage trying to do something, just a little too far. Taking too much poke here, honestly. Good cover usage regardless. I managed to pull it back. I know my tracer like got that guy low, nothing I can do. I know their tracer's behind at this point. Not exactly sure where, but Oh, that was close. Right, I almost right-click predicted her. Oh well. I know she hit the nade, nothing I can really do. You still see, even if like you time your left click well, it does a lot of damage still. Like it's almost impossible to do that consistently, right? And like, I do kind of miss the previous left click. I knew I should have just not done that to begin with. I knew, like whatever. He had his shout around. I was dead. Like originally I was gonna do it to like save my Reaper, but like I should not have done that honestly. Kind of a throw move by me. Kind of a problem, right? Like Malga can just get back the fight so fast, and like there's so much damage. It's like hard for me to do anything. I can't really stop. Is my point, right? I probably shouldn't come this way. It's hard for me to walk. I don't know why I'm peeking that much over and over again. Or she's just barely out of range. I see she hits a nade, so I'm gonna walk. See, I'm trying to like crouch underneath the thing, get good shots on them. Just didn't work out. I'm just not looking at this manga. You know, I'm still playing more or less the same, right? I'm trying not to peek this guy when he's using shout, because if he just shoots me, he's never gonna die. Force out all my resources. It's better just for me to let him like try to engage my DPS, because he's gonna have a way harder time like healing off of me, right? I don't know why I'm walking this far forward. This is like really bad. Just watching that in replay, oh my god, that was so bad. I think I was trying to like style on the tracer or something. I'm not entirely sure. Pull this guy further in the open, right? My Ana's in here, so I back off. I probably should have just been waiting here, but right, I don't want to like take the close angle with this guy, right? Ana's dead, trying to rotate away. Close prediction. Yeah, here I'm definitely trying to like style on this tracer, right? Here you see I'm like looking over to like maybe catch a cast, but he's just gone. Here I'm just not gonna peek, right? I know my Ana's respawning. My Reaper wraiths in. Probably accidentally clicked it or something. I definitely did not expect to die. Oh wow. I guess there was enough distraction, enough cooldowns where my team can still get value. That was really dumb by me, I'm not gonna lie. I figured though, since like their Maga ran away, like I wouldn't take that much damage, and like their backline isn't like that high DPS, so just pre-aiming, you know. Pre-aiming, like these walkways where you expect people to be is always really good. Right? I don't want to spend too much time trying to like click this tracer down. It's just inconsistent. Here, this is more like controlled. I try to break my Reaper, he just dies so fast. Unfortunately, my boops missed my Ana's aim up. Now he's just not doing it. Not much to say. I'd fast forward, but I'm a little afraid my computer would crash. Yeah, so kind of not great by me. I get two, but like I just kind of like throw. I don't know. I kind of mess up my Ana's aim. Some good right clicks, right? I do a lot of damage when they have no armor, right? See, like I said, this is like my first game on probably. Almost get that prediction, right? I see she's walking that way. Just a little off timing wise, right? I'd say I do stuff like that probably like once every 2 or 3 games. A little beside the point, but just worth mentioning, right? I know my entire team's here, at least they were, so I figured if I pull this guy around the corner, bait him into engagement, he'd probably die. And I know we have Nano too, and I'm expecting to get Nano, right? But oh well. We end up killing him anyways, right? I know he's just overextended, right? I'll take the risk here. I know he's overextended because his entire team, I just saw them all set up here. So if he fights us around this corner, right, you can see literally no one can see him, and like he's effectively taking a 1v5 right now. At least in principle, he should be, right? Cass can still blow. Like we don't even have the tracer anymore. This team can definitely like blow up Malga. Okay, thank God it did not crash. Unfortunate. You see good right click on the Wuyang. See, doing stuff like that, like it seems small, but like that forces them not to come out because now the Yari has to heal him or else he risks getting one shot, right? And that means like the rest of their team come out early. So yeah, that's a moment where I really wish I had the left click because like, see, I do literally no damage. You see, because I do that, like it seems small, but like because I did that, right? Honestly, there's a portion who come out the same doorway too, but I just stalled them for like literally that second, and right, like the rest of the team commits into like my team that they're already set up because we team wiped them, right? And they don't have heals and they just die in that like time frame, right? I mean that's why I prefer right click, right? Like that was not necessarily a hard shot to do, but just me stalling them because of the improved like range of my gun is just so valuable, right? It seems like such a small detail, but it's just really like that important sometimes, right? Um, yeah. So in closing, right, I'm sure you can see like just doing like the distraction hooks is so much easier with this, right? Um, and like just right clicking the tank is like really valuable a lot, or just like right clicking people, right? You can see like this game, this is definitely like below average performance for me, in general wise. But you can see even like just doing it a few times a game is so much more valuable than the old left click at range, right? I do wish that they'll bring back the previous left click, right? Because I feel like that was a really good introduction to Hog's kit, just to make him actually like more consistent close range. And obviously they can tweak the numbers however they see fit. However they see fit. Yeah, yeah, I feel like that's definitely the best change that they made. I did like Pigpen. That definitely helps on the front line. Um, Especially with like the Pigpen related perks. It's kind of disappointing we lost it, but I do prefer right click. I think it has better potential. Um, yeah, and it's also more fun, right? I mean, that's also kind of part of it too, right? But hopefully this was pretty demonstrative of like how you should be using like right click. And in general, right? Like still be principled how you like use cover. Um, so you don't just like wait, like sit in the open across the map and just use it, right? You see here, like I'm sometimes going for like these plays where I'm just like trying to like, I guess, style on people, right? Unfortunately, this just wasn't my game for that. It's gonna happen sometimes. Um, but yeah, like, yeah, still be principled of how you peak, right? Don't engage. I would say that don't engage people like 50 meters because you're gonna do like literally one damage. Um, yeah, and just still be willing not to peek at times when it's like not valuable, and just like farm the enemy tank as much as you can, or just like pre-fire corners, where you expect people to be sometimes, right? Because just doing 100 damage can set up at range, right? Where you're not giving up your positioning, can give your teammates opportunities to get picks, right? Or just stop them from walking in for like literally even a second can sometimes totally change the outcomes of fights, right? Um, yeah, so like again, and just play a little further back than you need to, right? You see, I was changing where I was positioning on card a lot of times relative to the Malga, right? Previous Hog, I'd probably like trying to mirror him close range, but now I'm trying to like take the wider angle against him, right? Because he's going to be doing less damage to me, but my damage profile is basically better, right? Um, yeah. So I hope someone finds this interesting, and I definitely hope this helps someone, right? All right, later.